Please rise for the jury.
All right, thank you. Return to your seats. All right, thank you, Mr. Myers. Go ahead and continue with your cross-examination of Mr. Chen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Defendant Chan, you said in response to Mr. Clark's question that you were on the floor when you shot at Jeremy Martin. Is that correct?
I'd be on the floor.
And you were aware that the bullet strikes, particularly the bullet hole R to the left of the door, and the bullet holes B and M on the other side of the hallway are going in a downward angle, right?
Yes.
So that's an impossible thing for you to be on the floor shooting up at somebody who's almost 6 feet tall and the bullet's going at a downward angle, right?
I don't know. Yes.
Now, you also said, show me what's been marked for States Exhibit 181. This is States Exhibit 181. And this is taken not too long after you were extracted out of the hotel in Kanto, right?
I don't remember when it was taken.
It was taken within hours.
Yes.
You're still wearing...
Mr. Chen, be a little bit more assertive with your responses so that we can make sure that we're hearing them correctly.
Sorry.
You're still wearing your Dallas Cowboys t-shirt, right?
Yes.
Okay. And let's take a look at your face. And you were saying that Jeremy Martin was holding a gun on you, your gun, and pummeling you in the face, right?
Yes, he was hitting me in the face.
And you said that he was hitting you with the gun too, right?
I don't know. I just remember being in the face. I couldn't say if it was with the gun or face.
But you don't have any defects to your face, like we described before, about being in a fight or being in an altercation. And we should have seen some swelling, we should have seen some bruising, but we don't see anything like that, do we?
My lip is a little swollen, but not like we were talking about before.
And showing your States Exhibit 182. You're a physically fit fellow, right?
Yes.
And not a scratch on your body here, is it? Except for maybe over here. What do they point to? This little area here, that might be a scratch.
Yes.
You were wearing a gold chain that night, weren't you?
The silver chain.
A silver chain, some type of necklace device, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you were in a life or death struggle, we'd expect to see a whole lot more injury to you than that, right?
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
I will, Your Honor. You have an amazing minimal number of, if any, surface injuries, correct?
Yes.
And just to ensure that we're thorough on this, I wanted to show you State's Exhibit 183. This is the image of your back. You said that you were struggling and you were on your back, and it too shows the lack of any significant injuries, if any, right?
Yes.
Now, you testified on direct examination that you were on the phone with Leah Tafoya, and you said that you walked out of the door of the bathroom, and all of a sudden Jeremy Mark was there, and he turns and he has your weapon in his left hand, and the fight was on, right?
Yes, it was. He had the gun and he pointed at me and I really hit his face.
Okay. Now, your wife, Leah Tafoya, said that she heard on the phone, "No, please no." Then she heard gunshots. Your testimony doesn't include anything about a please no, then gunshots, right?
Right, I remember if I said that.
Now, the testimony of Mr. Edward Hazelwood said he heard a startled voice, a bewildered voice that said, "Oh no, oh God." And then he heard gunshots. And then he heard someone run past his door. And then he heard that same voice that said, "Oh no, oh God." The same voice was at the elevators. There is a question.
Yes, he's getting to it.
The same voice was at the elevators, and they heard that same voice say, "Why is this happening to me?" And moaning and sobbing. Right?
I believe he said that there was a moaning and gurgling voice by the elevators, and there was another voice saying, "Oh God, please no."
No, what he said was that the same voice, he heard the same voice saying, "Oh God, oh no," then gunshots, and then that same voice. Of all of the witnesses, he's the only one that says that that is the same voice that he heard before the shots and at the elevator after the shots. That was his testimony, right?
I don't remember.
Now, regardless, somebody's recollection or recitation is not accurate. It's either yours or Leah's, because today you did not say anything about please no, but she did.
Right. I don't remember if that was me. I remember just the huge fight and the gun being pointed at me. I could have said it. I just remember the gun in my face and him hitting me with the gun, and then...
Objection non-responsive.
But you're asking him to confirm certain things, and I believe that the response is in the negative that he's explaining
And
he recalls.
I appreciate that, Your Honor.
So I think that some of it is actually the phrasing of the question.
I'll try to rephrase my questions.
They're asking you to confirm certain things, and either you're able to or you're not able to. But don't keep going back to what you've already said repeatedly. I think the jury is clearly heard that. Listen carefully to the question and basically make every effort to keep the response to the question that's being asked.
Yes, sir.
Now, excuse me. Mr. Clark asked you questions about what happened inside the stairwell. As you were up at the top level, you couldn't get out through the top, right?
Right, it was locked.
You wanted to get out through the top, didn't you?
Yeah, I wanted to see what I had up there.
And police officers are supposed to be concerned about the safety of the public, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
But you're looking to hide, aren't you?
I was looking to hide from yes.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on you, but your actions were not in accordance with those of a trained peace officer, were they?
I wouldn't say that.
Now, you heard everyone talk about how you were taken into custody. They had you turn around and walk backwards down the stairs.
Yes, sir.
You heard them testify that you walked backwards down the stairs with your hands above your head. Backwards.
Yes, sir.
Didn't miss a step.
Yes, sir.
So you're able to operate your firearm, navigate stairs, and you didn't miss a step, but you want this jury to believe that you couldn't form the specific intent to kill Jeremy Martin?
Yes, I'll defend myself.
From what you have already testified to be an unarmed man running out of the room.
Correct, sir.
Now, you mentioned something about you never held back any information. Mr. Clark asked you about if you ever held back any information. And you said, no, you didn't. You gave him everything, right?
Right. Yes.
We heard Officer Cosper had 6 hours worth of audio that was recorded in your presence.
Yes, sir.
And it was crunched down for efficiency purposes, containing your comments, and the jury heard all of that, right?
Yes, sir.
You were here when they heard it all.
Yes, sir.
Not once did you call Jeremy Martin by name, did you?
No, sir.
Not once did you tell law enforcement officers, there's a man out there who's probably shot and bleeding, and I know it because I saw all the blood in the hallway. Never said anything like that, right?
I never saw blood in the hallway.
You never said that there was a man bleeding, did you?
No, I didn't.
And you never said that there was Jeremy Martin is a threat or danger to anybody, did you?
I just was really in danger. I didn't say specifically who it was.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
I was just in a state of shock, confusion, and I was
Just it's a yes or no answer. Sir. It doesn't make sense, does it?
no.
And your comments about a bomb. Now, you've been an officer in responding to calls, right?
Yes, sir.
You know that there are many things officers have to do, and the resources are thin, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
And you're telling them that there's a bomb in the hotel, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're not giving them any specifics because you know it's all a ruse, don't you?
Well, I just wanted everybody to know that it was a dangerous situation and people could get hurt, and I'm just trying to convey safety for everybody.
Dangerous situation that you never described to anybody, did you?
No, sir.
So there is no dangerous situation, is there?
That was a very dangerous situation.
No, because if there was, you could have described it, right?
I couldn't have time.
You talked about, you were concerned about the safety of your brothers in blue, the other officers who had escorted you out of the stairwell, right?
Yes, sir.
You never mentioned anything about your brother in blue that you had just murdered, did you?
I was just trying to convey
Yes or no?
the danger.
Yes or no?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You never called Jeremy Martin your brother, did you?
I'm sorry, can you say again?
You never called Jeremy Martin your brother, did you?
No, not at that time.
Ever?
Not at that time, I didn't.
Point made. Now, you know that Jeremy Martin's duty weapon did not have a flashlight attached, right?
Yes.
And you said that all of a sudden Jeremy Martin is going to be over by the window with your gun, turn around and say, I'm going to kill you, right?
Yes.
Now, Jeremy Martin's bag with both of his firearms is right over by the window in that blue bag on the table, right?
Yes, that's where they are.
And it is reasonable that if somebody is going to use a weapon, they will use their own and not someone else's, right?
Sustained.
If you had to use a weapon to kill somebody, would you use yours or would you use somebody else's?
I wouldn't use my weapon just to kill anybody. I mean,
That's not the question. If you have a choice between weapon, there's two 357.6 sitting on the witness stand in front of you. One is yours and one belongs to someone else. You know how you load yours, right?
right.
You know you keep it in condition 1, round in the chamber, right?
Yes.
Okay. You also know that some people don't keep a round in the chamber, correct?
Yes.
So if you had to take immediate action, you're going to pick up your weapon to use it because you know it's conditioned, correct?
Yes, that's reasonable.
That's right. Now, you are the person who shot Jeremy Martin in the back 5 times, correct?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, redirect examination.
When you were in the car during the transport, did you and Mr. Martin have any conversation about the hand that he shot with?
Yes, I know he said he was with his left hand.
And did you have any reason not to believe him?
No.
Had you ever gone shooting before?
Not with him.
Did you see his holster?
Yes.
Did the holster give you any reason to believe that he wasn't left-handed?
No.
Did you ever inspect or look inside the bag to look at his at the Springfield that he was using as the smaller gun that was in the bag?
No, I never held it or inspected it.
Did you ever look at its holster?
Yes, I saw the holster when they showed me initially.
Was he ever wearing the holster that you saw?
It's hard to say. I think he was wearing it because it was concealed. I just didn't notice that he was on it.
Well, what I'm asking you is, did you ever specifically see the Springfield in the holster outside the bag?
Yes, when he showed it to me.
Okay, all right. And could you tell whether that was a left-handed or right-handed holster?
No, I couldn't.
Okay. Now, after you were taken into custody, what was your mental state? Were you thinking clearly and lucidly, or were you excited and anxious and scared?
I was excited and just very scared.
Were the things coming out of your mouth lucid, or were they excited, anxious, and scared?
Very excited and just scared.
Mr. Byers showed you a photograph that shows you kind of cleaned up, right?
Yes.
Was that photograph taken after the blood was wiped off your face or before?
After.
Objection to the form of the question, Your Honor. As the court had noted, this is a leading question. This is a matter that has been testified to before.
Yes, I'm going to overrule the objection. Go ahead and respond to the question.
After.
Have you seen photographs, or do you recall at any point blood being on your face and mouth?
Yes.
How about your hands? Was there any blood in your hands?
Yes.
How about in your nostrils? Was there blood in your nostrils?
Yes.
Did you have any injuries inside your mouth?
Yes, I had 2 cuts on my lips.
Okay. Now, Mr. Byers asked you about whether you were on the floor when you shot, and that wasn't your testimony, was it?
It was so fast, I remember grabbing the gun specifically and going to the floor as hard as I could. And just for me, when I shot, I don't know, I could have stood up. I don't really recall too much of the real detail of that. I knew I grabbed the gun and went to the floor as hard as I could. To use all of my strength to get it away.
And was the first round that was fired from that gun fired before or after you had control of the weapon?
Before.
When it was controlled by who?
by Jeremy.
Mr. Chan, did you ever call 911?
No, I never did.
When you were in the stairwell, did you have a telephone?
No,
What color was your telephone?
it was red.
Have you seen your telephone in photographs or exhibits that have been shown to the jury?
Yes,
Which telephone was that, if you could tell the jury? Was it an exhibit?
yes,
Was it the telephone sitting on the floor with blood droplets on it?
yes,
Did you have a second telephone that you could have used to call 911?
no.
When you were in the stairwell, did you have a phone?
No, I didn't have one this time.
Mr. Byers was asking you about seeing a man in the hallway. Do you remember seeing anybody in the hallway?
I don't remember.
You heard that man's testimony about seeing you.
Yes, yes.
And that man testified. Did that man testify? Did you hear him say that you were holding your pistol and you were speaking to him?
Yes, that's what he said.
And do you remember his testimony about what he said?
That I said, call 911.
Call the police, call the police, call the police, call 911.
Yes.
Do you remember specifically seeing that guy?
I don't.
Do you specifically remember crying out for help?
Yes, yes, very much so.
And do you remember that man, Erasmo Bravo, making any statements?
Objection, Your Honor, this is totally new.
Suspend, please.
What if anything, do you remember Mr. Bravo saying regarding the nature of the way you were speaking?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Do you remember talking about your demeanor?
Yes.
And what was your demeanor in the hallway?
He said he was standing with my gun and kind of hunched over and saying call 911. And I looked at him.
And do you recall him saying anything about what seemed to be your emotional state seemingly?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, when you were in the bathroom, you testified about being in the bathroom and coming out, right?
Yes.
Did you know what Jeremy Martin was up to before you came out of the bathroom?
No.
We've already talked about your training a little bit, right?
Yes.
And counsel asked you about your training, right?
Yes.
Is part of your training that you should, is,
Objection.
I can't tell from this part of your training that doesn't necessarily mean that it's being bullying.
is any part of your is there any part of your training that suggests that you should allow yourself to be beaten up?
No.
Is there anywhere in your self-defense block did you learn that that you should allow someone to strike you?
No. You should defend yourself.
After the shooting, you've heard testimony that Leah Tafoya called Josh, right?
Yes.
Were you ever made aware of what her emotional state was when she was calling Josh?
No.
Objection again, Your Honor.
I don't think that's leading.
Again, your questions are leading in which you're going to ask you to rephrase them properly.
What was Leah's emotional state when she called Josh?
I don't know.
Counsel asked you if you failed in your training, right?
Right.
Tell the jury very succinctly what you are trained to do.
I'm trained to stop the threat. I'm trained to stop an action that can potentially kill you.
Did you believe there to be a threat?
Yes, I did.
And what action did you take to stop that threat?
I took action, legal action to protect myself.
By shooting your gun.
Yes, sir.
And what are you trained to do when you no longer perceive a threat?
You don't no longer need to use lethal force. You can stop.
And did you follow that protocol of training?
Yes.
Did you stop firing?
Yes.
Counsel asked you, cross-examination, about why you didn't call 911.
Yes.
Tell the jury why you didn't call 911 to report that Mr. Martin had assaulted you.
I didn't call 911 because I was confused on what was going on, and I knew we had a lot to drink, and I didn't know, I thought it was just a drunken, something that we were drinking, and we had to go work tomorrow, and we needed to resolve this issue. I didn't want to, get him in trouble for something like that.
How often, since you began the police academy, or since you began as a law enforcement officer, have you practiced this disarming move that Captain Gonzalez showed us?
During the academy?
During your entire career, how often have you practiced that move?
Too many to count, a lot.
And over 100?
I would say yes.
Maybe over 1,000?
I don't know, probably not over 1,000.
But your answer is too many to count?
Yes.
When you emerged from the bathroom, or when you came out of the bathroom, could you see Jeremy Martin's bag clearly?
I was focused on Jeremy. I didn't know his bag or really what else was there.
After you came out of the bathroom, did you ever have the opportunity to look in the bag?
No.
Do you remember telling Mr. Foya, or what did you tell Mr. Foya regarding the kicking and the punching?
I remember saying he kicked me in the balls. And then I remember telling her to calm down. And she was getting excited over the phone. And I just remember telling her to calm down, it's going to be okay.
Could you explain to the jury how quickly this all happened?
It was very fast. They went, from the time when I was saying sit down, and he went and turned around with the gun, it was not long. It was like a blink of an eye. And it went from, it just was like a 0 to 100 fast right away. It was crazy. It was fast, very fast.
Pass with me, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Byers, cross-examination.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clark had asked you a general question about what Leah had told you, right?
Yes, sir.
And while this trial has been, before the trial began, you're husband and wife, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
You live together, don't you?
Yes, we do.
It's reasonable that you've probably talked about this, isn't it?
I told her, I did what I do. I do what I do to save my life.
Objection, Your Honor. It's non-responsive. It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
You've talked about it. Mr. Clark asked you, how often did you practice the move that Captain Gonzalez showed? You said about 1,000 times, right?
A lot of times. I can't say an exact number.
1,000? Your testimony?
Mr. Byers, that wasn't the testimony. He testified 100 times, but that 1,000 was too many. That was his specific testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So,
I'll narrow it down. Yes, sir. A number of times, at least 100 times.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's true that the technique that Captain Gonzalez mentioned described if someone is holding a gun to your head, you do a block and sweep and grab technique, right?
Yeah, the first thing to do is get the barrel away from you. Yes.
Okay. But what you're describing today is that Jeremy Martin turns around and he has the pistol in his left hand. Your testimony today doesn't say anything about a pistol to your head.
When he was hitting me and there was a pistol, I knew he had a gun.
Your testimony today does not say anything about the pistol to his head, to your head. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. It also takes at least 2 people to properly practice any type of weapon retention technique, right?
Yeah, it's 2 people.
Now, you said that you didn't want to get Jeremy Martin in trouble, but you had no compunction about shooting him. Is that correct?
I had to defend myself.
Now, it's your testimony that you saw Jeremy Martin exit the door to your room and you could not tell if he was armed or not, right?
Right.
He turned left and ran down the hallway, right?
Once you had ran out the door, I didn't know where he was.
You had, thank you, that's exactly where I was going. You lost sight of him, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
He was no longer a threat to you since you didn't know what his status or condition was, did you?
Well, he left the door.
Just yes or no, sir.
He left and I didn't see him. Is that right?
You didn't know, you did not see it. Thank you.
Yes, he left and I couldn't see him.
Now, Marvin Zamora, you heard Mr. Zamora's testimony that he said that he saw Jeremy Martin coming down the hallway and he was holding his arm, his right arm, in his hand. And he was sort of limping along, holding his right arm, indicating that his right arm was not usable, right?
Yes, that's what he said.
That's what he said. And the evidence that has been submitted to this jury indicates that Jeremy Martin suffered a severe gunshot wound to his right arm, correct?
Yes.
And it also shows that Jeremy Martin suffered a severe gunshot wound to his right shoulder, correct?
Yes.
That's a pretty accurate statement, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, you said that in response to Attorney Clark's question to you, that there is nothing in your operating procedure or use of force doctrine that requires you to just stand there and be beaten. Is that correct?
Right.
And it's also true that there is nothing in your training that authorizes you to shoot someone who is not a threat and running away from you, correct?
We're trying to stop the threat, stop the threat.
Trying to stop the threat or stop the action. Which one is it? You use those interchangeably.
We'll stop the action.
Oh, so the action is what? The person moving away from you?
I just shot, and then
That's the problem, isn't it?
Mr.
I'm sorry, Ron.
Please, don't overlap for the record. Allow the response to be given. Mr. Channing, your answer.
I'm sorry, can you repeat this question?
Sure. You've used these terms, stop the threat and stop the action interchangeably, but they're not the same thing, are they?
We're trying to stop the action, you can say that.
So what do you want the jury to understand from your testimony today? Is it stop the threat or stop the action?
And stop the action, and then there's still a threat.
So the action is going to be the existence of Jeremy Martin, right? Because you said that when he left the door, you could not definitively say that you saw him being armed. Isn't that right?
When he left the door, I could no longer see him.
That's right. And so therefore he is no longer a threat to you and the action has departed, right?
He could have still had a gun and fire.
We're not talking about ifs. The action is gone and the threat no longer exists, correct?
Objection, you start amending because it requires respect
It's a statement. Rephrase the question.
Jeremy Martin, certainly no threat after he left the room, correct?
No, he was still a threat.
No further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice. Does the jury have any questions of Mr. Channing?
Again, with all the training on self-defense that you've received and that you've testified to today, why were you unable to recall or recollect and or control your actions to neutralize the threat to you? Let me break it up. Why are you unable to recall portions of the incident with all of the training that you have?
Well, I think training it prepares you for something terrible to happen, but once it happens, I mean, it happens so fast, and I mean, I also have been drinking, and it's just, I don't know, training can only prepare you so much, and then when it actually happens, I guess your mind just doesn't remember everything. I don't know.
And again, just go a little bit further in terms of the other portion of the question is really, why were you unable to really neutralize the threat?
Well, I stopped the threat to me when I was able to get the gun, and then I shot, and he was still a threat to me when I didn't see him around the corner, or I didn't see him once he left the room. I didn't know if he had a gun. I didn't know if he could one of the guns start shooting back at me, so I just ran out and shot, and then once I realized he was running, I stopped.
Right. There's going to be a number of questions. Deputy, were you always required to maintain a full magazine in your service weapon?
Yes, they wanted me to have a full magazine. So I guess it was just a different cop's preference, whether they wanted to load. You could have 15 and then insert it into the gun and wrap around, and then take it out and then insert another round to have 16 total. It just wears out your springs faster, and for me, I just would put 15 in my magazine and then wrap around, so I had 15 total in the whole gun.
All right, but is your testimony that either of the options that you've described were acceptable policy?
Yes.
That you were permitted?
Yes.
So as a deputy, were you always, typically, how many rounds are spent by an officer during a training or a qualifying exercise?
I don't know how many rounds, but there is like a set guideline course that we do. I can't say in rounds, but it's shooting at different distances and during the day and during the night.
You're unable to estimate related to each one of those training sessions.
I would say maybe
Approximately how many times you discharge your weapon?
a qualification. I would just be guessing because I don't know the exact number of rounds, but maybe close to 50, 100. I don't know. I can't answer.
How many times did you have to reload your magazine, or how many magazines did you use for your training exercise processes?
If I can recall, maybe a couple boxes of ammunition. We did reload our magazines,
So
and we did reloading drills.
how many bullets in the boxes that you were using?
I want to say there's. I would say there's 50.
So several, 2 or 3. So it would be 100 to 150 bullets.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I just don't know the exact number.
While serving as a warrant agent that you testified was your position, had you ever had to pull your weapon on another individual? And if so, was it under a life-threatening situation?
As a warrant agent, we were always entering into.
Listen to the question. The question is, while you were in that capacity, or honestly at any time that you were acting officially in a law enforcement capacity, did you ever have to pull your gun on an individual? Start there.
I've had to pull my gun on several individuals.
And if so, was it under a life-threatening situation?
I would say there's a couple, yes.
I'm saying that on 2 occasions you felt that your life was threatened and that you actually...
Or I had to draw my gun and make verbal commands, and that's by extent.
So then it begs the next question. Have you ever discharged your weapon in terms of neutralizing what you perceive as a threat
I've had to pull my weapon on one occasion where a pit bull attacked me. It wasn't a person, but it was a pit bull, and I shot it in the good dog.
When Mr. Martin was standing near the desk that you described, where what you're describing was your weapon, were you standing by the bathroom door? Your testimony earlier that you were using the bathroom, there was a pounding on the bathroom.
Yes, I was standing near that area. I can't say exactly where in that area, but I was kind of by that, in that area, yes. By like the first bed and the bathroom in that area.
So are you also confirming that Mr. Martin was at the desk that has been depicted in the exhibits?
He was a little in front of the desk.
Can you describe or estimate the distance that actually was between you and Mr. Martin after you exited the restroom?
I would say about that when he was walking away and he made the turn, he was probably to where the end of this desk is.
All right, so please, for the record, estimate that distance.
Maybe 5 feet, 6 feet.
That's what you believe was the distance between you and Mr. Martin.
Yes.
And so, can you describe how, if, and how Mr. Martin closed that distance and was able to describe it?
Yeah, he pointed a gun at me, and I just remember a gun in my face and then getting hit in the face.
Okay, so, again, that's not responding. How do you believe that we closed the distance that existed between you?
When he came at me.
And the next question is, the first shot that was fired, was it during the struggle for the weapon?
The first shot that was fired, yes, it was during the struggle.
Where was your pistol? Where was it located within room 711 before the struggle commenced?
I had my gun in my bag when we left the hotel originally, and it was at the foot of the first bed. So kind of between the wall and the bed, and it was at the foot of the bed.
So you're indicating that the bag that is attributed to you, that is depicted in the exhibits that we've seen,
Yes.
it was on the floor by the bed next to a wall.
Yes, next to the wall and the bed, it was in that gap. It was found kind of further down, but it was originally placed at the foot.
And you're indicating that your weapon was in the bag.
Yes.
And because of the other questions that were asked, was the bag open or closed after you placed the weapon down?
When I left, originally I zipped it up. So it was closed.
Again, was the weapon sitting on top of the other items, or was it covered by items within the bag?
I don't remember. I remember placing it in the bag and then left the hotel. I don't remember where it was in the bag. It was in the main compartment, but I can't say where it was.
So let me just preface this next question. You indicated that you testified to the amount of alcohol that you were consumed on the evening in question. Is that right?
Yes, sure.
Is that your normal amount of alcohol that you consume when you go out socially?
No, that was excessive.
Again, your testimony is that the amount that you consumed, the amount of liquor that you consumed was more than you normally would have to drink if you were socializing.
Yes, I would say that was a little much, yes.
Not a little much. Is it more than what you normally would consume on a social basis?
Yes.
uniform, Mr. Martin, Deputy Martin, what side did he wear his firearm?
I couldn't say when he was wearing his uniform. I don't know.
So you and he drove from Santa Fe to the southeast corner of Arizona.
Yes, when he was in his, not in uniform, but he was in his, kind of a plainer clothes. He was on his left. I could see it when I was sitting in the driver's seat. He was on his left side.
There's been testimony, and I believe that you confirmed it, that at one point that evening, that one of the guests had opened the door to see what was occurring. And that, I believe in your testimony, you indicated that you saw that individual as well.
I don't remember.
You don't recall, your testimony wasn't that you
I think it was.
remembered seeing someone, one of the occupants of the room, open the door.
I believe I do remember. I don't remember. I remember hearing his testimony, and I don't think that's false that he saw me. I just don't remember actually seeing him.
Because the question is, again, why wouldn't you have gone into that room if you had seen the occupant open the door and you were seeking assistance? Why would you not have gone into that room?
Well, he closed the door, and maybe I wasn't thinking that at the time. I can't say. I just remember running down the hallway and banging on doors, so maybe just didn't went into my mind yet. That was right after the shootings. I don't know. I just remember running down the hall and trying to get into someone's room and trying to get someone to help me, so maybe that just didn't register yet.
How tall are you, Mr. John?
Around 5'10".
Does the jury have any further questions of Mr. Chen? All right, Mr. Chen, thank you very much for your testimony. You're free to return to your counsel table. Let me have the attorneys approach the bench, please. All right, so let me address the jury. I've been having a discussion related to the time because, and again, let me hear from Mr. Day or Mr. Clark. With the completion of the testimony from Mr. Chen, does the defense rest its case?
Your Honor, the defense rests.
So, within any trial, the state can, if it chooses, attempt to what we call rebut or rebuttal, provide that kind of testimony. My understanding is that they do intend to call witnesses as rebuttal witnesses. So I have to take into consideration the amount of time that would take, the amount of time in terms of once they have completed that portion, how much longer we would need to finish any kind of jury instructions to. And so I have come to the determination, and again, had a discussion with the attorneys related to the length of time that they would ask the court for in terms of their closing arguments. And so I made a determination that that would take us so late into the afternoon that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to begin the deliberations at that time. So I'm letting you know that in all likelihood, you'll probably be released a little bit early this afternoon. When I say early, maybe by 4 o'clock. But you should not anticipate being here after 5. And you should anticipate now returning at 8:30 in the morning for the instructions of the court and the closing arguments. Then whatever time it takes you to do it. But I believe because of the significance of the case and because of the nature of the charges and the testimony that you heard, that I have to give you as much flexibility as possible in terms of the time that you review the deliberations. So I'm giving you this information now so that you can make plans accordingly, because I told you yesterday that we want to be committed here after 5 o'clock this afternoon. I don't anticipate that at the moment, but I do anticipate that we will still be committed to these proceedings. All right, so we're going to release for lunch, and I'll see you back here at 1:40 this afternoon.
Please rise to the jury.